I trusted the wrong person at work. We were supposed to have each other's backs. Two women fighting the same battles, dreaming the same dreams. But while I was busy building our future together, she was busy burying mine. One false accusation, one calculated betrayal, and suddenly I was out, and she was in, sitting in the exact position we'd promised to help each other reach. But here's what she didn't count on. The truth has a way of coming back around, and when it did, her perfect little scheme came crashing down in front of everyone. This is what happened when my best ally became my worst enemy. I thought I'd found my person at work. You know that feeling when you meet someone who just gets it? Gets you? That's what I thought Madison was. We started at Hartwell & Associates around the same time. Both eager, both ambitious, both tired of being talked over in meetings by men who'd been there half as long, but acted like they owned the place. We'd grab coffee before the morning rush, vent about our impossible deadlines, and dream out loud about the day we'd finally break through that glass ceiling everyone pretends doesn't exist anymore. Spoiler alert, it does. Madison was everything I wasn't. Polished, confident, the kind of person who could walk into a room and command attention without even trying. Me, I was the behind-the-scenes grinder. I did the work, crunched the numbers, stayed late fixing everyone else's mistakes. But together, God, we felt unstoppable. She had the presence, I had the strategy. It was supposed to be the perfect partnership, and for months, it really felt like it was. We'd been assigned to work on the Morrison account together, this massive client that could make or break careers, the kind of account that gets people promoted. We knew it. Everyone knew it. Our boss, Richard, made it crystal clear. Deliver this, and opportunities would open up. There was a senior analyst position coming up, and honestly, both of us wanted it. But here's the thing. We talked about it, like adults, like friends. Madison actually suggested we both apply and may the best woman win, but that no matter what, we'd have each other's backs. No man's gonna come between us and our success, she'd said, raising her coffee cup like we were sealing some sacred pact. I believed her. God, I really believed her. The Morrison project consumed our lives for 3 solid months. Late nights, weekend calls, presentations that we rehearsed until we could do them in our sleep. Madison would handle the client-facing stuff, the schmoozing, the charm offensive, while I built the entire strategic framework, the research, the projections, the risk analysis. It was grueling, but we were doing it, and we were doing it well. Richard even pulled me aside once to say he was impressed with our teamwork, said it was refreshing to see women supporting each other in this industry. I remember feeling so proud when he said that, but looking back now, there were signs. Little, things I brushed off because I trusted her, because I wanted to believe in what we had. It started small. Madison would ask to see my work before meetings, saying she wanted to make sure we were aligned. Made sense, right? Except then she'd present my ideas as collaborative thoughts, or sometimes just hers. I was thinking we could approach the cost analysis this way, she'd say, describing exactly what I'd outlined to her the night before. At first, I figured it was just miscommunication. We were a team, after all. What did it matter who got credit as long as the work got done? Then there were the private meetings with Richard. She'd come back from his office with this little smile, telling me they'd just been touching base about the project. Nothing to worry about, but she'd be vague about what they actually discussed. And when I'd bring up something in our next team meeting, Richard would say, "Yes, Madison mentioned something similar. My strategies, my analysis, Madison's mentions." I remember one specific afternoon. It was raining, one of those depressing October drizzles, and I walked past the conference room. The door was slightly open, and I heard Madison's voice. She was talking to Jennifer from HR. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but I heard my name. Just worry about her sometimes, you know? She's been so stressed lately. I've been trying to help her stay on track with everything. My stomach dropped. Stressed? I was stressed because I was doing most of the actual work. But the way she said it, it sounded like concern, like I was barely holding it together and she was propping me up. I confronted her about it later that day. Well, confronted is a strong word. I asked her casually what she and Jennifer had been talking about. "Oh, nothing really," Madison said with this easy smile. "Just girl talk. You know how it is." She touched my arm, that reassuring gesture she always did. "You doing okay, though? You have seemed a little burnt out lately. I'm worried about you." And just like that, she'd flipped it. Made me feel like maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I was stressed. Maybe I was reading into things. That's the thing about a really good traçon. It doesn't announce itself. It's subtle. It makes you question your own perception of reality. The Morrison presentation was scheduled for a Friday in early November. We'd spent the entire week before rehearsing, finalizing slides, anticipating questions. I felt good about it. Nervous, sure, but good. We had this. Thursday night, Madison suggested we meet at her place to do one final run-through. I showed up with my laptop, notes, the whole 9 yards. We went through everything twice. She seemed off, though, distracted, checking her phone more than usual. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah, totally," she said. "Just tired. This has been a lot." She suggested we call it a night around 10. I went home feeling slightly uneasy, but told myself it was just pre-presentation jitters. Friday morning, I got to the office early. The presentation was at 10, and I wanted to make sure all the tech was set up properly. But when I walked toward the conference room, I saw Richard, Jennifer from HR, and our department head, Susan, standing outside Richard's office. They looked serious. Too serious. My heart started pounding before I even knew why. "Can we see you for a moment?" Jennifer's voice was professional but cold. I followed them into the office, my mind racing through possibilities. Did something happen with the Morrison account? Did the client back out? But nothing prepared me for what came next. "We've received a complaint," Susan said, sitting behind the desk like a judge. "A serious allegation regarding conduct related to the Morrison project." I felt my face go hot. "What? What kind of complaint?" Richard cleared his throat, looking uncomfortable. "There are accusations that you've been misrepresenting the work product, taking credit for collaborative efforts and attempting to sabotage your team members' contributions." The room tilted. "What? That's insane. Who said that?" Jennifer glanced at Susan. "The complaint was filed by Madison. She's provided documentation, emails, messages, notes from meetings where she claims you consistently minimized her input and attempted to position yourself as the sole driver of the project's success." Madison, my partner, my friend. "That's not true," I said, my voice shaking. "None of that's true. If anything, it's the opposite." But even as I said it, I realized how it would sound, like I was just deflecting, accusing her right back. "We take these matters very seriously," Susan continued. "Given the nature of the allegations and the documentation provided, we feel it's best if you're removed from the Morrison presentation today. We need to conduct a full investigation." "You're benching me? Today? For the biggest presentation of my career based on accusations?" I couldn't breathe. "Can I at least see what she's claiming? Can I defend myself?" "That's not how this works," Jennifer said. "We need to protect all parties involved. You'll be placed on administrative leave while we review everything. We'll be in touch." Administrative leave. The words that mean you're guilty, until proven innocent. Or just guilty. I was escorted back to my desk to collect my things. People stared. Of course they stared. When someone's walked out in the middle of the morning by HR, everyone knows it's bad. I saw Madison down the hall, near the break room. Our eyes met for just a second. She looked away quickly, but not before I saw it. That flicker of something. Not guilt. Satisfaction. The gulpy was complete. I'd been set up, perfectly and precisely. I spent the weekend in a daze, replaying every interaction, every conversation, every moment I'd trusted her. The emails she'd asked me to send her, for reference. The times she'd offered to help by reviewing my work before I submitted it. She'd been building a case against me for weeks, maybe months. Every piece of my work she'd asked to see wasn't about collaboration. It was about ammunition. Monday came and went. No call from HR. Tuesday, nothing. By Wednesday, I was going out of my mind. I finally called Jennifer, who told me the investigation was ongoing, but they'd found concerning patterns in my communications. What communications? The ones Madison had probably doctored or taken completely out of context? Thursday afternoon, I got the call. Not from Jennifer, from Susan. "We've concluded our investigation. Based on the evidence and witness statements, we've decided to terminate your employment with Hartwell and Associates, effective immediately." Witness statements. Madison had gotten other people to back up her lies. Or maybe she'd just been so good at playing the victim that they believed her narrative without question. "This is wrong," I said, tears streaming down my face. "This is completely wrong. She set me up. She wanted me out so she could take the promotion herself." "I understand you're upset," Susan said in that infuriatingly calm HR voice. "But the decision is final. Your final paycheck will be processed, and you'll receive information about Cobra coverage in the mail." And just like that, I was done. 3 years of my life at that company, gone. My reputation, destroyed. My career trajectory, derailed. All because I'd trusted the wrong person. The worst part? 2 weeks later, I saw the announcement on LinkedIn. "Congratulations to Madison Pierce on her promotion to senior analyst. Madison led the successful Morrison account acquisition and will be expanding her role to oversee strategic client relations." Led the successful Morrison account. My work, my strategy, my 3 months of late nights and sacrificed weekends, all credited to her. I wanted to comment, to expose her, to tell everyone what she'd done, but who would believe me? The girl who got fired for taking credit for other people's work? It would just look like sour grapes, like exactly what she'd accused me of. The trahison was so perfectly executed that any attempt to defend myself would only make me look worse. I stopped going on LinkedIn, stopped checking company news, started applying to jobs, but found that my sudden termination was a red flag no one wanted to touch. Can you explain the circumstances around your departure from Hartwell? Yeah, sure. Let me tell you how my former friend framed me for professional misconduct. That'll go over well. Months passed. Dark, brutal months. I was running out of savings. My confidence was shot. I'd stopped trusting my own judgment about people. If I could be so wrong about Madison, who else was I wrong about? I felt paranoid, isolated, bitter. The venganza I wanted seemed impossible. She'd won. Completely. But here's the thing about lies. They have a shelf life. And here's the thing about people like Madison. They're never satisfied with just one gulpy. They always get greedy. It was February, almost 4 months after my termination, when I got a text from an unknown number. This is Claire from Hartwell. We should talk. Claire had been in a different department, but we'd been friendly. I'd helped her with some data analysis once, and she'd always been nice to me. I called her immediately. I don't have much time, she said, her voice low. But something's happening at the company. With Madison. My heart started racing. There's been an internal audit, some financial discrepancies on the Morrison account, and a couple others Madison's been handling. But that's not even the worst part. She paused, and I heard her take a breath. Someone found emails, messages between Madison and a contact at Morrison. Turns out she'd been feeding them confidential information about our negotiation strategy before we even pitched. She basically sabotaged our leverage so she could position herself as the hero who saved the deal by renegotiating. Later, I felt dizzy. She was colluding with the client? It's worse than that, Claire continued. When IT started digging through her communications for the audit, they found everything. Messages where she talked about you, about how she needed to clear the path to the promotion, draft emails to HR that she never sent, testing different versions of her complaint against you, screenshots of your work that she'd edited to make it look like she'd done it. It's all there. Everything. The room was spinning. Why are you telling me this? Because it's going to come out. Probably this week. And I thought you deserved to know before everyone else does. Claire's voice softened. I never believed what they said about you. For what it's worth, Madison always seemed off to me. Too polished, you know? Like everything was calculated. After we hung up, I just sat there. For hours. I'd wanted this. Wanted her to be exposed. Wanted vindication. But now that it was happening, I felt empty. No triumph. No satisfaction. Just exhausted. The news broke on a Thursday. Not publicly at first, but in the tight-knit professional community we worked in, word travels fast. Madison Pierce, rising star at Hartwell and Associates, under investigation for fraud, misappropriation of confidential information, and falsifying internal complaints. By Friday, it had hit industry blogs. By Monday, she was on administrative leave, the same purgatory she'd sent me to, but the real vindication came 2 weeks. Later, I got a call from Susan, the same Susan who'd fired me without a second thought. We'd like to discuss your termination, she said, professional mask firmly in place. In light of new information that's come to light, we believe a mistake was made. A mistake. Like I'd been an accidental casualty instead of a calculated victim. We'd like to offer you reinstatement with full back pay and compensation for the time you were unemployed. We're also prepared to discuss the position that was originally in consideration before your departure. I let her squirm in the silence for a moment. I'll think about it, I finally said. Not because I wanted the job back. God, I didn't. But because I wanted her to understand that they couldn't just snap their fingers and undo what they'd done. The company ended up issuing a formal apology, though it was carefully worded to avoid admitting full liability. Madison was terminated and, according to Claire, was facing potential legal action from both the company and Morrison for her fraudulent conduct. Her LinkedIn was deleted, her carefully curated professional reputation destroyed. The same venganza she'd orchestrated against me had boomeranged back with devastating precision. You'd think I'd feel victorious, watching her world implode, and part of me did. But mostly I just felt tired. Tired of the whole toxic system that had made us feel like we had to tear each other down to get ahead. Tired of the betrayal, the manipulation, the games. I didn't go back to Hartwell. I took their settlement money and used it to start consulting independently. Built something on my own terms, where I didn't have to watch my back or second-guess every friendly gesture, where my work spoke for itself without someone waiting to steal it. The last I heard about Madison, she'd moved to a different city, trying to rebuild under a slightly different professional name. Good luck with that in the age of Google. Some stains don't wash out. As for me, I'm careful now. Maybe too careful. I still struggle to trust people at face value, always looking for the angle, the ulterior motive. That's what Trayzone does. It doesn't just damage the present, it infects your future relationships with suspicion. But I'm working on it, learning to recognize red flags without seeing them everywhere. And I learned something important. The best venganza isn't the one you orchestrate. It's the one that happens when the truth finally catches up. You just have to be patient enough to let it unfold. Because lies are exhausting to maintain. And liars always, eventually slip up. Madison got greedy, got sloppy, got caught. I didn't have to do anything except survive long enough to see it happen. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes that has to be enough. Would I have done things differently if I could go back? Yeah. I would have trusted my gut when those first red flags appeared. I would have documented everything, protected myself better, but I also wouldn't trade. The lessons for anything. I know who I am now, I know what I'm capable of, and I know exactly what to watch out for. The Morrison account, by the way. The client ended up dropping Hartwell entirely after the scandal broke. Turns out nobody wants to work with a company that can't keep its own house in order. Poetic, really. The thing Madison destroyed my career over ended up being worthless anyway. I still see her sometimes in my nightmares. That moment when our eyes met, as I was being walked out. That flash of satisfaction on her face. But then I wake up and remember. I survived. I rebuilt. I'm stronger for it. And she's the one who has to live with what she did. That's not the ending I wanted. But it's the one I got. And honestly, it's enough. So that's my story. 4 months of hell followed by the vindication I'd stopped believing would ever come. It didn't fix everything. Didn't give me back that time. Didn't erase the trauma of being betrayed by someone I trusted completely. But it proved something important. The truth matters. Justice, even delayed, still counts. Thank you for sticking with me through all of this. I know it wasn't easy to hear. It definitely wasn't easy to live through. But I wanted to share it because I think a lot of you have been there, in some version. Been betrayed by someone close. Been blindsided by a friend who turned out to be anything but. Here's what I want to know. Have you ever had someone you trusted completely stab you in the back? How did you handle it? Did you get your vindication? Or are you still waiting for karma to do its thing? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. And honestly, knowing I'm not alone in this makes all the difference. If this resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. Because trust me, we're just getting started. Thanks for being here, for listening, for caring. It means more than,